We have. Meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording will be archived for future viewing. Welcome to you all. The first item on the agenda in part one is apologies for absence. And do we have some apologies there?
We do. We have apologies from Mrs. Tinsley and Mr. Watkins, from Councillor Gray and Councillor Robertson.
Right, thank you. But we are quorate, aren't we? We've got enough here.
We are.
Good.
Just to let you know, Chair, I have just received apologies from Councillor Birch.
Okay, all right. The minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of July. Hopefully you've had those and read them through. I spotted a typographical error, I think. Where did I see it?
I think it's probably the typographical error on page 2, unless there's another one, and that's under minute 231, and it's the final paragraph before it goes into the resolutions.
That's right. Yeah, you spotted it as well. It was agreed, accepted. Whether that should be it was agreed and accepted, or
I think so. Yes, from reading the
accepted. But just we'll just change that to. What should we put it to? Agreed and accepted, I think. Yeah. Debbie.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I'm on mute. Apologies. And we'll pick that just to reflect that then in today's minutes that amendment has been made. Thank you.
Right. Has anybody else spotted anything that they want to raise? No. Thank you. To receive declarations of interest, at the time of going to press, we hadn't had any applications. Are there any now?
If I deal with that point, so agenda item 4, no, we haven't received any applications. If we could I'm
sorry, Debbie, that was completely
deal with 3.
So sorry, we should have gone on to receive declarations of interest. Does anybody have anything they want to declare? No?
No.
Thanks. Okay. So, sorry, applications for dispensation. So, repeat what I said there. There were no applications at the time of going to press, but what's the position now?
No applications have been received.
Right.
So we'll just note in the minutes that a committee note that no applications have been received, and that'll be sufficient for the minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Observations at Town and Community Council committee meetings. I'm not sure that anybody's visited since the last meeting, probably because they've been closed in August. Mrs. Hallett, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. No, I haven't actually done one, but we had a list of Karen giving a list of that were outstanding.
Yes.
And I'm actually down to do St. Donat's on the 5th of October.
Good. And Mr. Alexander, are you in the same boat?
I confirm I am indeed in the same boat.
Yeah.
I do have a scheduled slot in the diary. Working forward, I cannot just actually see the date now, but I know that there is one there. Thank you.
Good, thanks. Yes, well, I'm in the same position. I think I'm going to St. Athan in November. And I think at that stage, we will then have visited all the community councils. So we'll, at that stage, I think Karen is going to put together a report on best practice, if you like, or points that can help, or points that that need improving, and the good points. Yes, Mrs. Hallett.
I think there were 6, I think, outstanding. Karen requested would be done by November. Am I right, Debbie?
Yes, I think through you, Chair, it might be that the others have been allocated to other independent members, but certainly the intention was that the 6 were to be allocated so that we would have had the opportunity through yourselves to observe each of the town and community councils. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Cuddy, you're sitting with your hand in the air, but that doesn't. No, sorry, that's okay. All right. Okay. So there's really nothing to report on that, save that arrangements are being made to visit the remaining councils with a view to completing it by November.
Yeah, Chair, could I just add for the minutes, obviously the report reflects the discussion and agreement of the last meeting. I've added into the report just an additional recommendation, just in case there's an identified need that we're not aware of at the moment that would call for a meeting, either of a committee or a council meeting of the Vale of Glamorgan Council or a town and community council, following on from the existing arrangements. So it's just to give that proviso that, be noted that prior to the new schedule, that if there is an identified need, that we pick that up over and beyond the existing arrangements.
Okay, fine. Thank you. We move on to adjudicational panel for Wales annual report. Hopefully you will have read this. I don't think it raises any great issues. I think they dealt with 4 cases successfully last year. Does anybody want to comment? Debbie, do you want to comment?
All I wanted to draw members' attention to is, in particular, the case which related to a community council within the Vale of Glamorgan. So Section 3 provides the case summaries. So it details the case relating to Merthyr County Borough Council, their case, but particularly the one relating to the community council within the Vale of Glamorgan. It is a matter that obviously members are cited on, as I have apprised you of this matter previously, in line with the Part 2 reports that I provide regarding communication with the Ombudsman's office. So it's just to mention that is picked up on page 13. It's also picked up in the next agenda item in the Ombudsman's annual report. So you'll see, for obvious reasons, reference made there, because of course it's a matter within the year 2020-2021, and then of course in section 3, the only other matter to note is of course the appeal that was submitted to the Adjudication Panel for Wales in respect of the Standards Committee decision in Cardiff. So just to emphasise those particular points. Thank you.
Right. Well, apart from the fact that we've read it and noted it, I don't think we need to add anything else to that. Thank you very much. Now the Public Services Ombudsman for Wales Annual Report and Accounts 2020-2021. There's a bit more beef to this one, to this report. I've read it through. I don't know if there's anything that I need to comment on. It speaks for itself, but does anybody want to raise any issues on it?
Can I just ask Debbie a question, please, Chair?
Certainly.
On page 14, under complaints about us, you know, they have targets set for performance indicators. They haven't got one set for complaints. I mean, is that unusual, Debbie?
Well, I don't think you can you? You can't. You want your target is nil, but you can't.
Exactly. That's the point, Richard. That is the point I'm making.
Yes,
the target is nil.
Mm.
So I just wondered why nil wasn't down there. That was just an observation.
Yeah.
Having dealt with performance indicators in the health service, we have nil as a target.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was only an observation.
Debbie, do you want to comment any further on that?
I'm not making an issue of it, Debbie. I'm just mentioning it.
Yes, yeah, I think it's worth noting. I think when you look at the page 32, which is set out at Appendix 3, and I'm hoping you'll find it helpful that we've pulled out what I've regarded as some of the key sections for you to consider because of the multi-functions of the Ombudsman. But under Appendix 3, page 32, you'll see the number of complaints that are received, and I suppose it's that aspect of not being able to control that. And indeed, I suppose some of the complaints which are received are not then followed through to an investigation. And I think you'll see also in the same paragraph, the opening paragraph on page 32, that albeit 535 new code of conduct complaints were received, that 308 complaints went through to an investigation. And I suppose it's within their targets. If it's something which is outside of the Ombudsman's control, I suppose it's this issue of is that a fair target? I suppose it's just to highlight that, because of course there's multi factors which influence whether a complaint is received.
And I suppose it could be argued that the more complaints that there are, it shows that the system is working and people are aware that they can complain. And that would be one argument that they've put in their favour. But it seems they're pretty busy, the Ombudsman, and I think the tone of it is that they're trying to keep matters down, aren't they, and are trying to not to have too many complaints. But does anybody else want to comment on that?
Yes. Yeah, I'll comment. It's just a general contextual comment for town and community councils. There are 750 of them, and the rate of complaints or certainly hearings and appeals is very low, really. Yeah. I don't think you can get much lower in the system. So it's keeping the lead on quite well, really.
That's a good point. Thank you. Mr. Alexander?
Thank you. Just in relation to that point that's been made, I noted that there was a reference at the bottom of page 33 to the fact that many members of town and community councils do not take up training opportunities offered on the Code of Conduct. And I just wondered if there was any relevance to the position in the Vale of Glamorgan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yeah. I mean, this is something which is, a matter that I most definitely do agree with the Ombudsman. He's reflected in that paragraph that, certainly monitoring officers across Wales, agree on this point. I mean, certainly within the Vale of Glamorgan Council, I can advise that a decision was made prior to the last local government elections in 2017 that Code of Conduct training in the Vale of Glamorgan Council was mandatory. And indeed, that was adhered to. And I'm pleased to say that all members of the current Vale of Glamorgan Council have attended the training. Now, with regards to town and community councils, which fall within the Vale of Glamorgan, I have recommended, and I've also advised that the Standards Committee have also supported that and recommended that town and community councillors attend training. And we do offer training to support the proper officer of each of the town and community councils, and indeed we'll do that following the next local government elections, which is in May 2022. But I think it is fair to say that there are some members that are hard to reach with regards to training, and albeit training is offered, because it isn't a legal requirement, it isn't mandatory. It is difficult in some instances to encourage members to attend.
I think actually this was something that we took up with Richard Penn when we met him, and I think our recommendation was that it should be mandatory. So it may be he'll refer to that.
Absolutely. And I think also, and it's something I've touched upon in a previous report, under the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 21, there is a requirement, I believe it comes in from May 22, I can't remember off the top of my head the exact date, but there is a requirement for town and community councils to prepare training plans. So that is a statutory requirement. So I'm hoping that through that, and bearing in mind the representations, comments which have been made previously, that certainly training on the Members' Code of Conduct will feature highly there. But it might be timely for correspondence to go out to proper officers, just reinforcing the advice and guidance that the committee has mentioned previously, for it to feature within their training plans. Certainly we have highlighted with clerks the need for a training plan, but I think it would be well worth reinforcing that point at this stage.
Thank you. Mrs. Hallett, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Point to Debbie and perhaps Councillor Cuddy. Would there be an advantage to observing as independent members at one of the training courses to have an understanding of the training that the councillors actually get? So it gives us a help with understanding when we observe. I mean, if you don't think so, Mike,
No, the as Debbie's already offered free training, haven't at the council, it'd be easy to step into that again, wouldn't it? No problem, I would have thought. And you'll probably hear from discussion the difficulties which people raise in terms of conflicts of interest and all sorts of stuff like that. You know, prejudicial interest, what's that? And, it takes a bit of time to grasp actually what it means.
No, I was just wondering whether it would be advantageous to us as independent members.
Yeah,
so, from your thought, anyway.
It would be, I think, useful to understand that. Yeah.
Debbie, could we pick that one up?
Yes, through you, Chair. What I do intend to do is to bring a report to committee, certainly in advance of the May 22 elections, setting out a programme of training, so so that you have the opportunity to comment on that and just inform the structure. But I would certainly encourage participation of members from the Standards Committee, particularly the
Mr. Alexander.
Thank you. Very pleased to hear the suggestion, Debbie, about a programme of training, because I was mindful when I looked at page 35 of this report, and at the bottom relating to the Code of Conduct complaints that were closed, the majority related to disclosure and registration of interests and promotion of equality and respect. And from my perspective, I'm not conscious that this committee has had any recent training in equality and diversity and inclusion. And given the nature of some of the complaints that come to us, I think it's perhaps appropriate that we did have that training. So I'm pleased to hear that there is a suggested programme of training coming forward for consideration. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Well, I think that was a useful discussion there. Does anybody else want to comment on the annual report before we move on? No? Thank you. The next item is hearing arrangements relating to a complaint against Councillor A in respect of B Community Council. Would it be sensible to move this to part 2, Debbie?
Yes, I think as is our normal style for transparency, and
Yep.
You'll see this from the next item, we ordinarily would put as much information as we can in the public domain, but yeah, for the discussion to be under part 2. So yes, I certainly would agree with that because of the details relating to the individual.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we'll do that. Then we go to correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. Perhaps you could deal with that.
Yes, and similarly, because of the confidential nature of the information that I'll be sharing with members, similarly, with regards to agenda item 8, I suggest that the information is shared under part 2 of the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Any items which the chairman has decided are urgent? Yes, any items which the chairman has decided are urgent. Well, I haven't been, nothing has been referred through as urgent this time, so there's nothing there.
Okay, Chairman, if the committee is happy to move to part 2, if you could give me a moment,
Yes.
I just need to make sure that the live stream has stopped for you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Just for the benefit of the minutes, if somebody could move part 2 and second it, then we've formally move into part 2. I think, Chair, you've probably moved it from what you've said already. So, and Pat, and thank you, Mr. Alexander. Thank you.